Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Annetta Felix. The Nigerian Air Force says it has killed several Boko Haram insurgents in airstrikes in Gagash, Borno State, northeast of the country. Spokesman of the Air Force, Air Commodore Olatokunbo Adesanya, in a statement said the airstrikes were the result of surveillance and intelligence reports by troops. He also said the strikes, which are part of a new Air Force operation against the insurgents, also led to the destruction of 2 camps in the location. The operation, codenamed Thunder Strike, targets Boko Haram locations that are inaccessible to ground troops owing to the onset of the raining season. News of the Air Force operation comes just days after 4 civilian Joint Task Force members were killed by a suspected Boko Haram suicide bomber in Madanri village in Konduga local government area of Borno. 5 others were also injured in the attack on Tuesday evening. The State Commissioner of Police, Damian Chipu, has now deployed men of the EOD unit and other combat teams to sanitize the area and restore normalcy. He urged members of the public to always remain vigilant and report suspicious persons and activities to police or other security agencies. After many months of delay, the Nigerian Senate has now finally passed the 2018 budget into law. The document, which was increased to 9.1 trillion naira by the legislators, was passed 6 months after it was submitted by the president in November 2017. It was initially expected to be passed in January, but was delayed owing to disagreements between the legislature and the executive. It was finally passed on Thursday after both sides settled the disagreement. The document will now be forwarded to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent. The document has an expected GDP growth of 3.5%. Meanwhile, Senate President Bukola Saraki has raised an alarm accusing Nigerian top police officer of a plot to blackmail him. Saraki told senators during the plenary on Thursday that the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, had extradited some suspected criminals from Kwara State, where he, the Senate President, comes from, to Abuja to change their statements and implicate him. Saraki said he got the information from the Kwara State Governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, and described the action as a recipe for anarchy. The Senate has now resolved to send a delegation to report the matter to the President. There's been no love lost between the Senate and the Inspector General of Police in recent times, with the police boss snubbing a summon by the senator over the police handling of a case involving a senator. A court in Kogi State has sentenced as granted 10 million naira bail to Senator Dino Melaye. Melaye, who represents Kogi West at the Senate, was given bail by Justice Asiru Ajana for charges related to gun running. He faces a separate charge in Abuja bordering on giving false information. He has pleaded not guilty to both charges. For the Abuja case, Justice Olosumbo Goodluck of the FCT High Court, Maitama, on Wednesday, adjourned the matter to May 17 for Melaye's lawyer to explain why his client was not in court. President Muhammadu Buhari has insisted that former public officials who looted public funds will not go unpunished. The president said this while commissioning the new headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja. He reiterated his commitment to fight against corruption.
It's this very imposing edifice in the Nigerian capital of Abuja that would henceforth serve as the headquarters of the country's anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. It's a new addition to the capital city skyline. And it's what has brought President Muhammadu Buhari and all the dignitaries here for its official commissioning. But beyond the commissioning of the building, it's also an avenue for the president to speak about his government's fight against corruption. In his 3 years in power, President Muhammadu Buhari has made anti-corruption the key mantra of his administration. He told his audience here, which includes former South African President Thabo Mbeki, that there would be no let-off in his fight against corruption and going after past leaders of the country suspected of corruption.
This is another milestone in our determined and collective fight against corruption. Throughout my journey in national service And since 2015, I have made a very conscious decision to pursue a vigorous fight against corruption in public life. Since 2015, I have made significant progress in the fight against corruption. Everyone now knows that corrupt officials will be held to account no matter how long it takes. We have recovered and are still recovering trillions of naira that were stolen in the past few years by people without conscience. We are pursuing recoveries everywhere and are making sure that anyone who has been found culpable is made to answer for his or her crime under the law. It is my hope and expectation that the judiciary, which is a critical stakeholder and partner in the war against corruption, would continue to collaborate with the executive to bring corrupt people to book. Permit me to also seize this opportunity to call on the legislature, which provides the legal framework for the anti-corruption war, to add more verve to the determination of government to rid our nation of the present corruption witnessed in recent years through reviewing archaic provisions in our laws and proactive passage of new legislation.
Since President Buhari took office, the EFCC has been about the busiest government agency in the country. Anti-corruption chief Ibrahim Mago, who heads the commission, says so much has been achieved in the anti-corruption war in the about 3 years that the government has been in power.
We have intensified our engagement with civil societies, religious groups, and women and youth as part of our preventive strategies in the fight against corruption. We have also made strides in our prosecution effort, which are yielding fruitful results. This year alone, from January to date alone, we secured 89 convictions so far to date. We have secured, within the 2 years and a half, 486 convictions from November 2015 to date. We have recovered in different currencies and so far have recovered more than 500 billion naira.
Yakubu Dogara commends the EFCC for the job it has done so far. He however charged the commission to step up its commitment in the battle against corruption.
The emphasis must not move to those wonderful men and women who are sacrificing too much in order to fight corruption. Of course, we expect that the officers and men of EFCC should be angels. That's not a misplaced expectation, except to remind us that angels inhabit the heavens. They don't live in hell. And when you have an angel that is banished to hell, you have a demon. And demons cannot lead this fight. They will mess it up. So, Mr. President, we have the added responsibility of taking measures to insulate officers, men, and staff of this agency from temptations. And that means that we have to better their condition of service.
The Nigerian government is currently pursuing high-profile corruption cases against former public officials, including a former National Security Advisor, Sambo Dasuki, and former military chiefs, amongst others. The cases are still pending before several courts across the country.
The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Kayode Fayemi, has said he will resign from his post next week. Fayemi, who is to represent the All Progressives Congress in the Ekiti governorship election, disclosed this to State House correspondents on Wednesday. He says he's on a mission to rescue Ekiti State and that he has crossed a critical hurdle by emerging as the party's flag bearer. The minister also admitted that there is still a lot of work to be done to ensure he emerges as the governor of the state. Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has dismissed fears that President Muhammadu Buhari's chances at the 2019 election will be reduced if the aggrieved New People's Democratic Party (NPDP) pull out of the All Progressives Congress. He, however, agreed that some of the grievances of the party's chief were legitimate and should be looked into.
I don't agree. I want to go back to 2003. What are we talking about? Who are these new PDP people that are threatening? This is Kwara, Kano, Sokoto, Adamawa, okay, Rivers, but I don't think Amechi is part of them. So let's take these 4 states, okay? Go back to 2003 and check. President Buhari then, under ANPP, won in all these 4 states, okay? Go back to 2007, President Buhari won in these 4 states. Even while Shekarau was running as a presidential candidate in 2011, President Buhari defeated him in Kano, okay? And I have no doubt in my mind, even if the people threatening to leave, it will have absolutely no impact on the presidential elections. The president will win Sokoto, Kwara, and Adamawa easily. Kano already is in the bag. I mean, if you saw the crowd that welcomed the president with or without former Governor Kwankwa, so you know that Kano has always been the president's base. So, for me, that is not the issue. The issue is they have written, they have expressed grievances, and some of the grievances are legitimate, and they should be looked into. But to threaten to leave the party, I think it's neither here nor there. If they are honest with themselves, they know that President Buhari will win those states with or without them. But if you have a grievance, we are a party, and politics is a game of addition, not subtraction. So you don't want to lose anyone, and we don't want to lose any of them. So I think that those that the letter was addressed to ought to study it and look into what is reasonably possible to accommodate them, because politics, as I said, is a game of addition.
The opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, has pledged to empower Nigerian youths if it is re-elected into power. The Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the party, Emmanuel Agbolasho, promised to commit the sum of 100 billion naira to promote youth in the country at a political parties discussion series in Abuja.
The People's Democratic Party, if given the chance, because I know this is a bill that will not see the light of day before 2019. The first bill that will be signed by the incoming president of the People's Democratic Party will be the Not Too Young to Run bill. Leadership opportunities, leadership recruitment opportunities will now be given by well over 60 to 75% to young ones in their 30s, knowing fully well that whether you call it crazy or you call it anything, but their thought process is in the next 40, 50 years. And that long-term developmental programs are what we need to really drive and move the economy forward. There is going to be the policy of the People's Democratic Party national government to domicile a minimum of not less than 100 billion for access to advance the continuity of this particular line of business, in which you will now grow local economy at the lowest base. This is going to be a loan accessible without any collateral, believing that yes, we have faith in the development of our young ones in this.
Other speakers at the event also insisted that Nigerian youths must be active in politics. They called for more inclusion of youth in the nation's democratic process.
The age of a youth is between 18 and 35. So anyone who is above 35 cannot contest to be a youth leader in our party. Unlike what we have seen in the past when 60, 70-year-old men are youth leaders. In fact, in some states, I understand, in one state, I understand that the woman leader is actually a man. It's the APC-led National Assembly that has passed, initiated and passed the Not Too Young to Run bill.
One thing I want to say here is that participation is key. Power is not given. You must take it. If you must participate in this democratic process, and you expect that all the BB grammar that is being, put on before you here today, we put you in a place of authority. Sincerely, you are deluding yourself and you are not telling yourself the truth. The fact is that for the youth, you must play politics by activism, participatory politics. Get yourself out there, get yourself involved, engage in political discussion, and participate so that you can also be on the table. I'm here today because multi-party democracy gave me the opportunity.
Still on election matters, stakeholders in Nigeria's political sector have commended the nation's current multi-party system. The stakeholders who were speaking on the sidelines of a political party debate in Abuja said the system gives everyone a fair chance to claim a political office in the country.
I think today here we've actually had political parties talking more about the need for us not only to have more political parties, but for more political parties to come on board to enrich and deepen, the engagement of people in society. And I think one of the key things that I personally take out from this discussion is that it's not just about the number. The number can be 100 or 200, but most significant thing is that that space is given to citizens to constructively engage in the entire process, and also the quality of political parties in terms of the agenda setting, in terms of having a well conceptualized ideology to drive the engagement in the entire process. I think that is something that I think is most significant, and that we add more value to the electoral process in the country.
I find it worrying that educated people talk about deregistering political parties. You don't deregister political parties, but you can say you need to win 4 or 5 councillorship seats to be able to contest in XY kind of election. But in terms of whether there are many of them, we are going to have more. We are going to have, political parties that are even municipal, that just think in terms of how to better Abuja. And that will become the ideology. That will become what they pursue. You cannot say they can't exist by law. That will be anti-democratic, and it will be infringing on the right of citizens. But INEC needs to do the necessary hard work of working through some kind of mechanics that will help to determine how you appear on the ballot.
Part of the reason why we are still in the crisis that we are in today, that people recognize that we have a challenge and that we have a problem, but that people say it has become part of our culture and we should not do anything about it. Part of a regulation that INEC can make is to also introduce sanctions for breaking INEC rules. Because after all, you did say that if political parties do not meet the 2/3 requirement, you are not going to register them because you are fulfilling, those provisions. So I think that part of our challenge is that every time we have a problem, rather than try to address them and solve it, we take solace in the fact that there is no provision of the law to address the problem, and we are now looking for a new law to do that.
The National Unity Party, NUP, says the peace and indivisibility of Nigeria is their core ideology. The party disclosed this on Wednesday in Abuja while announcing its alliance with some political parties and groups. The NUP is now allied with Fresh Democratic Party, Fraction of Labour Party, Alliance for National Unity, and the Kwankwasiam Movement.
Our cardinal objective is to unite Nigeria because of the fact that Nigeria is more divided than before. Every day we wake up, there are killings. People find it very difficult to go to their farms. Even people who are living in metropolitan cities find it difficult to go to their native homes for fear of being kidnapped or killed on the road. Our farmers no longer go to the farm, and farm produce are no longer safe because of the fact that there's killing every day. So we feel that we need a party that can unite Nigeria, a party that its mantra will be united Nigeria. We don't care where the president of Nigeria comes from. What is important is who is this man that can unite Nigeria, who is this man that can bring dividends of democracy to everybody. I think that is the cardinal objective of National Unity Party.
It's very unfortunate we have found ourselves where we are today. I think President Buhari has to do a lot. He has to take much responsibility. He should not allow his aides and people working with him to decide the fate of Nigerian people. Nigerian people did not vote for them, they voted for President Muhammadu Buhari. So he must have more than a passive interest in what is happening to our unity. Our unity is under threat. We don't have to pretend about it. We are under threat. And this is because there is no justice in the land. There is no equity in the land. And you cannot have peace when you don't have justice. So the president has to do a lot of things to give confidence to Nigerians that he is really in charge and is ready and willing to work on the unity and the indivisibility of Nigeria.
Do keep watching News Now. We'll be back after this time out.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
My name is Alero. I am not sick. I just need you to help put your stamp on this medical report. I want to tender it at my office as a sick leave. I'll pay 10,000 naira.
Ma'am, that is impersonation. I'm not a doctor.
Oga, be like say this English no go pay. I go increase the money to 20,000 naira. I beg. You know, if I give you that 20,000, as you wide, so if it still help your condition more. So you know, say you spread well.
As I spread like virus, I'll be.
You talk.
Come out! If person come your hospital, talk say make you give am fake medical report, make you go take collect sick leave. Talk and say no, na corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
I am Esther Vese. Welcome to Business News. We begin with the Central Bank of Nigeria injecting the sum of £210 million into the interbank foreign exchange market to boost liquidity in the system. The Central Bank of Nigeria says it allocated a sum of £100 million to dealers in the wholesale sector, while the small and medium enterprise segment and Invisibles received a sum of £55 million each. Now, the intervention ensured the naira exchanged at 362 naira to a dollar in the Bureau de Change segment of the market today. Now, Nigeria has awarded a $6.68 billion contract to the China Civil Engineering Construction Company, CCECC, for work on a major segment of a railway linking the country's commercial hub Lagos in the southwest and Kano in the north. The CCECC is a subsidiary of Chinese state rail builder, that's China Railway Construction Corporation, and has been involved in other parts of the Lagos-Kano Rail project, which started in 2006 and was broken into segments for implementation. Now, in 2016, Nigeria awarded it work on a segment between the northern states of Kano and Kaduna with a contract sum of $1.685 billion. The railway line is also receiving funding from China. In April, China Exim Bank approved a $1.231 billion loan for the network's modernization program. Oil fell today ahead of an anticipated rise in U.S. crude inventory that could provide more evidence that demand may be slowing in spite of ongoing crude output cuts by producer group OPEC and imminent U.S. sanctions against Iran. Brent crude futures were last down 65 cents at 77.78, while U.S. crude futures fell 32 cents at $70 a barrel. Meanwhile, physical crude markets are sagging under the weight of unsold barrels of oil, while the 50% rise in the oil price in the last year is encouraging major companies such as ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, Chevron, BP, that's the British Petroleum PLC, and Total to increase output. Recovering from 2 consecutive days of decline in the oil share index, the equities market closed today's session with the bull returning to the market, recording a 0.93% rise in the key market indicator. A total of 259.486 million shares brought in value, the sum of 4.363 billion naira from 4,000 deals. Leading the percentage gainers today, Nestle, Dangote Cement, Nigerian Breweries, and Unilever advanced the most ahead of 23 others. Conversely, Okomu Oil, Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, Forte Oil, and GlaxoSmithKline led 30 percentage laggards. Meanwhile, the banking sector once again dominated the top traders table, with Diamond Bank, Zenith Bank, Guaranty Trust Bank, and First City Monument Bank being the top traders. Well, that's business news today. We will be back right after this break. Stay with us.
A new report says the number of Africans taking refuge within their countries because of conflict has doubled in a single year. The report by the Norwegian Refugee Council, NRC, and the Internal Displacement Monitoring Unit, IDMU, has found that nearly 3 million people were left homeless within their countries in 2017, bringing the total to nearly 6 million people. It says the hardest hit country was the Democratic Republic of Congo, while South Sudan, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Somalia, and the Central African Republic were also affected. The report says many of them live in insecure areas, making it all more difficult to provide them with essentials like food, water, and medicine. And in health, the World Health Organization, WHO, has sent the first 4,000 doses of an Ebola vaccine to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Officials hope the vaccine developed by Merck can contain the latest outbreak, which is believed to have killed 20 people since April. The experimental vaccine was shown to be effective during limited trials in West Africa during the 2014 to 2016 Ebola outbreak, which killed more than 11,000 people. The Nigerian Football Federation says the Super Eagles are not afraid of any opposition in Russia at the World Cup because they are well motivated. The Eagles will play Iceland, Croatia, and Argentina in the group stages in the showpiece event. The NFF's first vice president, Seyi Akinwumi, has now told newsmen that the NFF has confidence in the team. Coach Ghana Raw has already named a 30-man preliminary squad for the tournament. The list will be pruned down to 23 after the friendly against Congo on May 22nd. Gareth Southgate has announced his final 23-man England squad for the World Cup with high-profile absentees, including Adam Lallana, Jack Wilshere, Joe Hart, and Ryan Bertrand. Former first-choice goalkeeper Hart has been dropped from the squad following poor form at West Ham from Burnley's Nick Pope, while Arsenal's midfielder Wilshere has also been omitted from the group that will travel to Russia. Jordan Pickford and Jack Butland are also, on the other hand, the other goalkeepers in the squad. Meanwhile, in the Premier League, two experienced managers will not be managing the same club next season. Sam Allardyce has been sacked by Everton, while David Moyes leaves West Ham just after 6 months in charge. Both managers have steered their respective clubs to respectable finishes away from the relegation zone the two clubs were in at the time they took over, but also had issues with their club's hierarchy. Former Watford manager Marco Silva is expected to take charge at Everton, while Newcastle's Rafa Benitez has been touted for the West Ham job. That has been News Now on TV360. Do follow us on social media at TV360 Nigeria to catch up with news around the world. I am Annetta Felix. Thank you for watching.